Hey players, I'm Brandon. I won a Guy's Cradle at a cEDH tournament in Melbourne, Florida, LP Gaming, and I did it using Xyris the Writhing Storm. Here's my deck. Started out with a Birds of Paradise standard, along with a Delighted Halfling. All these are ramp choices. Try and get Xyris out as fast as possible, as he is very expensive. Same with the Orcish Lumberjack, which is a card that leads to a second turn Xyris combo. As long as you have a blue source and a forest on second turn, you can get him out. It's good to go. Ragavan, he also helps ramp and helps disrupt your opponent's decks, so that's super nice. Tinderwall. Tinderwall is another ramp piece. It helps you lead to second and third turn Xyris plays. The objective, obviously, is to get Xyris out as fast as possible. That's what most of these choices are. A Gate Instigator. He is one of your victory conditions. He does Offspring. He is a creature that has Offspring for 2, which says every time a creature comes into play under your control, we'll create a 1/1 token copy of him that does the same thing. So everybody's taking 2 when Snake comes out. Bloom Tender is another fantastic kind of mana acceleration fixer type piece. Obviously, when Xyris comes out, it produces 3 colors, but it's not as good before Xyris comes out. So sometimes it's situational. If you get like an Orcish Lumberjack or a Ragavan out, then those things will pay for themselves. So that's kind of nice sometimes. Collector Oof. I put Collector Oof because some of these turbo decks were eating my lunch pretty consistently, and I needed a couple of stacks pieces to slow them down. Collector Oof does a lot of work early if you can get it. It does turn off a few of your pieces, but you can easily work around that, especially if you get an extra turn or 2, because you've shut down everybody's 0-drop and free mana. We got Fairy Mastermind. Fairy Mastermind help you with some card draw, but its main situation in this deck is, again, card draw, but it's also another victory condition, right? So it's a long and convoluted victory condition, more suited towards late game, but with Fairy Mastermind, Wild Growth, the Earthcraft, Fairy Mastermind, Wild Growth, Earthcraft, and a basic land. As long as you have an island and a mountain, would be fine. But really, the island is important. So that leads to a situation where you can draw everybody out, and then figure out how you're going to win from there. Whether it's having like an Impact Tremors effect on the board, or just having less cards than everybody because they've probably drawn more cards than you have. You can deck everybody out, and you can go on top because you'll have more creatures to tap for it. Gildrake is important for things like Orcish Bowmasters and really any other troublesome creature. It's mostly Orcish Bowmaster. Awful for our strategy. So had to put in a couple of ways to deal with that. Gildrake is a pretty good one, and it also takes care of other troublesome creatures on the board. Hexing Squelcher, of course, spells can't be countered, which goes real well when you have like a Vexing Bobble or something out on the board, but with so much control in the meta right now, it was a no-brainer to add. Spellskite, kind of questionable. Like, I put it in, it helps protect Xyris. It does a couple of things with things like Saw in Half and stuff like that, right? It will help in niche situations, but this card I put in the last couple of weeks just because I felt like I needed to get more protection for Xyris when he's out, but this may not be the answer. But it was in there, and it didn't come up in the tournament. So I think since then I've pulled it out of the deck, but it's kind of been back and forth. Elvish Spear Guide, you know what that is. Enduring Vitality, Bambi. Bambi's real good when you have a whole bunch of snakes. I mean, it just is Bambi and Cryptolith, right? So both of them are there to serve the same purpose, but Bambi is searchable with some of these search cards for creatures. So it's pretty good. Another Spirit Guide. We all need mana. Spellseeker has various uses, right? So my number one thing I like to do with Spellseeker, if I can, is if I really need a wheel, right, I'll go get Winds of Change. Winds of Change is outstanding because it's one. And a lot of the times that'll be enough. If I've got the setup, if I got Porpoise and Xyris on the board and I need it, I got a Winds of Change right there. So it's pretty good. Other than that, goes to get things like Sack of Land, go get a Gaia's Cradle. Why can't I think of the name of that card? I'll put it back. I'm sure I'll edit this out and when I remember the name of that stupid card. Goes to get things like Cyclonic Rift, Overload. It goes to get things like Snap. Goes to get things like all the cards that that are very good. It goes to get them depending on the situation. So that's why it's there. It's good. Cabbage Man is another one that I added kind of later in the iterations of this deck. It's definitely good. Sometimes I feel like it's a bit slower than I like it, but it helps out tremendously. Like when it does get out there, every time I've ever had it out, it's put in work, helps me get to, the Xyris turns a bit earlier. If I can get second turn Cabbage Merchant, a lot of the times that's leading to a third turn Xyris, or, when Xyris is out, if I can just, produce more resources, it helps me get to where I need to be. Whirlpool Warrior, card most of you have probably never heard of. Whirlpool Warrior is a wheel in the same way Winds of Changes. It's shuffle your hand into the library and draw that many cards on its ETB, and then I can pay 1 red, sacrifice it. Each opponent does that. That ends games. The reason that is important is it doesn't get countered as much these days, and a lot of the counters, a lot of the free counters don't hit it, right? There are some that do. Again, it's not a silver bullet, but you are much more likely to get this on the field than you are many other things, and it's searchable with Chords of Calling and those types of effects. So getting it on the board and then having everybody shuffle has led to many victories. In fact, that is the way that I ended up winning that Gaia's Cradle, was off of a Whirlpool Warrior with Porpoise out on the field. Guy who needs no introduction, Porpoise, Guy to the Forge. That is a victory condition. 2 points of damage every time a creature comes in. 1 good wheel with Porpoise out and Xyris, and that's the end of the game. So, all right, sorceries. Okay, we got Gamble. Yeah, Red Entomb. You know what it does. You know what it is. That's a great card. Rite of Flame. I've since pulled this card. It may come back. I'm on the fence. Again, the goal of it is to get Xyris out as fast as possible. Winds of Change, we've talked about this a little bit. It is a 1-drop wheel, which comes in handy. Surprisingly, a lot. This thing ends a lot of games for me, so I like to see that. Finale of Devastation. I've since pulled this because I had, 3 of these, but Finale is good because it lets you hit the graveyard. It just didn't come up that often. There wasn't a whole bunch of times where I needed to have that graveyard effect, but I'd rather have Nature's Rhythm. Nature's Rhythm, because it has the Harmonize, it's a twofer. Lets me get out, lets me use it and then get something else out. And typically, if I can use this twice, if I have enough mana or I have enough snakes out that are producing mana, I can go straight into Nature's Rhythm for Porpoise and then Harmonize for Whirlpool Warrior, pay 1, sack it, boom. We can end the game there. Just all depends. Shatter Skull Smashing, again, we do not like Orcish Bowmaster. Orcish Bowmaster, awful. People should stop running it. It's a terrible card. Don't run that stupid card anymore. But I do need to get rid of things. I had pulled out a lot of the single point removal that used to be in here. Things like Rapid Hybridization and Pongnify. But I kept in this one because it is a land as well as a removal piece. Jessica's, well, you know what it is. You know what it does. Just good cards. Time Twister. Man, I'm telling you, I'm so grateful for cEDH being proxy friendly. Time Twister, very, useful. Wheel of Fortune, same type of situation. Great card. Windfall. Again, most of the time, game ending. All 3 of these cards. If you can, if Porpoise is out, they end games. If Porpoise isn't out and Xyris is out, they just provide 21 snakes. Sometimes that's enough. It all depends. Echo of Eons. This is a card that I recently put back into the deck mainly when I started running Lion's Eye Diamond, because Obviously, having that in the graveyard with flashback, which is a time twister, it's a time twister effect with flashback for the time twister cost, right? So having a lion's eye diamond be able to pop this off in the grave, or at any time I need to, having a wheel that isn't in my hand is pretty good. So this was not here for a while. Again, these choices and these iterations come and go, but I think it has a permanent spot in the deck now. So there you go. Offer you can't refuse. Yep, that's great. Crop rotation, which is the card that I was talking about earlier that I said, hey, I need to remember this card. Yep, crop rotation, excellent. Goes for Gaia's Cradle or goes for 3-Tree City. Obviously, great card, game changer. Mental misstep. I put this in a lot for I mean, there's a bunch of cards it hits top. There's a lot of stuff. I think it's not a card that I want to play. It's a card that I feel like I need to play just because of the way the meta is right now. It's rough. So, of course, Mystical Tutor, fantastic card, needs no introduction. Veil of Summer. Veil of Summer is a great card. It stops a lot of things. It also, will stop that. What is that? That search card that people are on the lookout for it, and I'll have to remember the name of it. But it's the one where you have to target a player, and then they choose the cards, right? So if you cast this in response to them targeting you as the player that they choose to sort the cards that they pick, it will fizzle out. So that's great little interaction. People are on the lookout for it all the time, though. They're always looking for people who are playing green because of this. But Veil of Summer's a great card. Arcane Denial. People hate it, right? So I like it because for me, it gives 2 extra snakes, which don't feel like a big deal, but oh my God, definitely helps get me over the line, especially because I need about 7 snakes optimally, especially if I'm trying to Chords of Calling. I need, at least 6 snakes, 7 snakes. That's really where I want to be. But also, it is a hard counter for 1 colorless and 1 blue, right? That has come in handy several times. Are there other counter spells that are better? Maybe. We're still working on that. But I know a lot of people don't like Arcane Denial. I do. I think it's pretty good. It replaces itself. Yes, it gives one of your opponents 2 cards, but the other 2 players don't get it, and I get 2 snakes. I think we're up. Battle Hymn, great card, gives 1 red for every creature I control. It's just good. Born Upon a Wind, right? So great card, but it's kind of in and out. I've since removed it from the deck. I do go on top of the stack sometimes to try and pull off victories. It's great when I do have the wheels and access to mana. Otherwise, it's kind of just sits there. So I'm not 100% sure with my style on this deck whether it's a include or not. I've since removed it, but it's always as I'm testing, trying to figure things out. It's always on the bench. Rift, we all know that's a great one. Rift ends games, right? So usually I do have enough snakes around to try and get a good rift off to try and finish out the game. So you also have the baby rift when you need to, when like an underworld breach is popping off or something like that. Muddle the Mixture, another one that everybody says, well, what's going on? Why are you running this card? This card gets a lot of the 2 drops that I need in order to finish out games, right? So it gets a Gate Instigator, it gets Earthcraft, it gets Cyclonic Rift, it gets whatever it is that I need at the time. The mana cost is prohibitive, like, paying all that to go and search for something does get expensive, and I have had to actually cast Muddle a time or two, but to actually counter the spell versus just the transmute, and people are always shocked. But again, going to get my victory condition has come up several times. Maybe it belongs here, maybe it doesn't. Maybe I can get you guys to help me out. Snap, fantastic. It's Cradle tricks, untapping, all that good stuff, getting rid of threats. Chords of Calling, MVP in the deck. Obviously, being able to convoke at instant speed with a bunch of snakes goes to get Porporos, or if Porporos is out, goes to get Whirlpool Warrior to end games on the stack. Fantastic card. Deflecting SWAT, it's great. It changes around things and does all the stuff that Deflecting SWAT does. Fierce Guardianship, free counter spells for non-creatures, all fantastic. Another free counter spell on somebody else's turn, which is great. Force of Negation. Open the Omen Pass. Buddy Nick put me onto this. Actually, he was running the Rocco deck, and I saw him pull this out, and I was like, man, this may have a spot in my deck. So I've been playing it for a few months. I think it's good every time I see it, because not only does it give 2 mana of one color and 2 mana of another color, the secondary effect of +1 to every creature you control has ended games, right? It turns 21 damage into 42 damage, so it's pretty good. It's been in and out, and I've been testing it a bit, but I like it, so I think it has a home in the deck. Mind Break Trap, fantastic. You already know what it is. Wheel and Deal, card most of you have never heard of. Wheel and Deal is a forced wheel where you only get to draw 1 card, but everybody else has drawn 7 fresh ones, which gives you 21 snakes, and it's an instant, which comes into play more often than you think. Instant wheels are few and far between, so it's good in this format, or in this particular deck. Force of Will, the GOAT, so it's fine. Harmonized Crescendo, another card you probably never heard of. You get 1, name a creature type. It has Convoke, name a creature type. You get to draw a card for each creature of that type, which means you can convoke if you have Xyris out, he counts for 1 in the blue. So oftentimes I'm paying 1 blue, or if I have, something else out, you could be free drawing, 10 cards, right? Instant speed. On to the artifacts. Chrome Mox, self-explanatory, mana ramp, Lion's Eye Diamond. Put back onto Lion's Eye Diamond from the Discord group that I'm in about Xyris. I was playing one guy from there, and he was like, gotta put that in. So I put it back in, and just learning to play around Lion's Eye Diamond and then going for it, because it is risky turn 1, turn 2, dropping the Lion's Eye Diamond so you can get Xyris out, because you don't have any protection for Xyris, and then if they blow up Xyris, they blow up your whole game plan. So, but if you don't, then you're going to get 4 cards back, right? If Xyris survives for a turn, then you'll get 4 cards, which basically is a plus on the amount of cards you would have had from your hand anyway, generally speaking, right? So, Lotus Petal, obviously good. Expedition Map, let me go get that Cradle. Mana Vault, what's going on. Skull Clamp. Skull Clamp also excellent when you've got a bunch of snakes running around. Sometimes a Gaia's Cradle and a Skull Clamp is enough to end games, right? That'll break people's will. It is super nice. They start to pay attention when you have 21 snakes and a Gaia's Cradle with a Skull Clamp floating around. Soul Ring, you know what it is. Vexing Bauble. So Vexing Bauble is one that I hadn't had in there for a while, and I put it in. But I needed to slow down some of these turbo decks. So Vexing Bauble and Collector Oof were the package that I included for that reason. And, any of you Vexing Bauble players know that everybody else would be like, oh, you got to make sure that you have that mana so you can crack that Vexing Bauble when you need to. So it's kind of tough, and it takes a little bit of practice to play around with it, but it's, what it is. Arcane Siggy, great card. Another in and out card, Conqueror's Flail. It's my way to stop people from interacting on the turn. It costs 4, which is expensive. Well, it's 2, and then 2 to equip. I tend to, if I do get this, I'll equip it to one of my snakes instead of equipping it to Xyris, because what'll happen is as soon as you try and equip this thing to Xyris, somebody's going to blow up Xyris, and that's going to be a problem, right? So I'd rather attach it to one of my snakes. That way, if they're going to do something, if they're going to blow up Xyris, it gets equipped to the snake, and then you still have protection for the turn, right? Or maybe they blow up the snake because they don't want to, and then you try to re-equip it to another snake, right? So Conqueror's Flail, again, could use a little research. I think it's good. It didn't come up in the tournament again. Just one of the cards that I kind of been back and forth on. I didn't get to play it in the tournament, but I've played it, with mixed results over time. Grimonolith, pretty good. Again, need that mana acceleration. Imposter Mech is here again for really Orcish Bowmaster. I mean, that's really what it is. But there are so many other decks out here right now that are doing great things. It's nice to be able to take over, the commanders that produce mana for every creature that you have, or, starting to maybe a Sphinx or, whatever. It's nice to have. It's a good, solid card. Lightning Creeves. This is in here to protect Xyris, and it also helps out with getting that haste. I know a lot of the times I'll see this on, and then I'll have the option to either play Xyris second turn or play the Boots second turn, and I end up going with the Boots because I may lose out on a couple of snakes for the rotation. Depends on how many people have heuristic studies out, but I may lose out on some snakes for rotation, but I do have that protection for Xyris for that turn, and it lets me swing right away as soon as he comes out. So that's why that's there. Talisman Curiosity, again, another mana ramp. This card right here, Phyrexian Altar, is fantastic. Lets you wheel, and then all of a sudden you have just a tremendous amount of mana to play with because you sack them snakes, and they generate the fuel for your engine. All right, we've got a few enchantments. Again, Wild Growth, talked about that a little bit earlier. It does kind of combo out with Fairy Mastermind and Earthcraft, but Wild Growth is just another one of those things where I want to get Xyris out fast. So I'm going to try and, put this Wild Growth on a basic land or something. Cryptolith Right, again, self-explanatory, makes snakes make mana. Earthcraft, again, snakes mana. Wild Growth on a basic land, of which I run two, but we'll talk about that later. Goblin Bombardment, it lets me control the field. It is amazing. I have messed up so many times by not, controlling a field or sacking all the snakes. Sometimes I'm a little bit too conservative with sacking snakes to control the board when people target Goblin Bombardment. That's just a part of learning and playing the deck that, eventually I'll get better at. Impact Tremors, it's probably the worst Impact Tremor effect because it's only one, but it's an enchantment, makes it more difficult to get rid of, and it wins games. So we love it. Roar of Resistance. Roar of Resistance gives all of my creature tokens haste, and then whenever any creature attacks any of my opponents, I can pay 2 and give all those creatures +2/+0 till end of turn. So it's not just me, it's other people. If we are attacking into my opponents, I give everybody a surprise buff. But it also helps me because if I can wheel into this and then pay 2, that's enough to take out one of these control players, no problem. So, Heuristic Study, man, this card needs to get banned. This card needs to get banned. But since it's not, it's in here. And, it does what it does. It is what it is. Actually, I think, too, that in this iteration of the deck, I pulled out Fish. So I think I pulled out Fish to put in I forget exactly what I did to put it in. But the reason that I pulled out Fish is because I found myself a lot of times early on trying to get to a Xyris, but having a Fish as an option. So then having to either pay for the Fish or get the Xyris out. And I choose get the Xyris out. One of the guys at the tournament talked to me about it a little bit. He was, more focused. He says that I should focus more on the late game. So, that's one of those things. Shout out Doom of Fools. So, I put it back in since then. It is what it is. Shared Animosity. Shared Animosity gives +1/+0 for each other creature that shares a creature type attacking. This thing, again, is another victory condition, ends games. It makes snakes go up to, 16. They all get a whole bunch, and Xyris gets a whole bunch, and I get to draw cards, and don't let me have a Porpoise out there. It's just all bad, right? It's a bad time if it sees the board, and I get to swing. People don't like that, so that's great. All right, we got the lands. Kind of no surprises here either. We got the Ancient Tomb. Got the Arena of Glory, which has the Exert, given haste. Sometimes it is difficult to get that double red, basically, but it's here for when I need it. I got the Fetch. My fetch package really was based around has changed over time because it's based around the basics that I chose to play. At one point, I was running 3 basics. Now I'm down to 2, and I'm down to a island and a mountain. And I adjusted my fetch lands accordingly so that I can get to those things when the Earthcraft is out. When that Earthcraft hits, it definitely can change the entire dynamic of the game. So I changed around my package a little bit to focus more on those basic land types. Breeding pool, course land, emergent zone. Emergent zone is my way to fight on top of the stack as well. You can go get it with crop rotation if you need to. You can go get it with the expedition map, all that stuff. I don't have a whole bunch of ways, and I don't generally fight on top of the stack, but if I need to, I have that option, and it's happened. Again, another fetch line, a fetch land. This is for the blue, Cradle, right? Gemstone, self-explanatory. The island, Misty, all that. All these basic things. Course, Talon Gates, 3-Tree City. I haven't seen a lot of people play it, but in this deck, it's pretty good. You definitely kind of have to, you need to be making snakes, right? So definitely need to be making snakes because, man, it's kind of expensive to activate. But the fact that you get to choose a color has come into play many, many, many times. Urza Saga. So Urza Saga usually goes for, I think, Soul Ring, and then if not Soul Ring, well, Soul Ring or Mana Vault, obviously. But usually later in the game, when I don't need that mana, I'll go for I can't think of the artifact that lets me draw the 2 cards of the equipment. Skull Clamp. It'll go for the Skull Clamp, and it will go for the Vexing Bauble, right? So those are the things I'm considering putting in a Grafdigger's Cage, just for some of these Kennen decks and Spin to Win and all that other good stuff, but I haven't really decided yet. And that is pretty much it. I run 26 lands and 1 multi-face, so I guess technically 27. I don't know if it counts that. So that's where I'm at. I think the land base again is because cEDH lets you mulligan so aggressively. I feel like that's why running this few lands is good for me. So that's it. I appreciate you.